Hello friends, and welcome back or welcome to my channel. This video is going to be a bit different from my last since it's going to be a voiceover vlog of my Alaska trip. I hope you enjoy, and I apologize in advance for whatever shaky or grainy footage you see. I'm still a baby YouTuber. I don't really know what I'm doing, so just bear with me. So me and my family are going to Alaska via cruise ship. I'll go over my thoughts about the cruise ship at the end of the video, but to us, it seemed like the most efficient way to see multiple places in Alaska. And yes, it is very, very expensive, and I have regrets.
Oh my god. I am never gonna financially recover from this.
Our course essentially takes us through what is known as the Inside Passage, meaning that for the majority of the trip, we are traveling through a channel between parts of Canada and the US. We boarded in Seattle. Here's a view from the cafe. Here's a welcome charcuterie plate thingy. It was fine. You can see Mount Rainier over here. Wow, very cool, very wow. This is the room we have with nice ocean views. We kind of splurged on a nicer room just because the thought of being on a ship without the ability to see the horizon from your room sounded absolutely awful. And honestly, if you're doing a cruise ship, I highly recommend investing in this because it was really, really, really nice. Here is this expensive ass bottle of water, $5 for a bottle of water plus 20% gratuity. Like, fuck you, that is ridiculous. How dare you? How dare you expect people to pay that much for a bottle of water that they're just gonna drink? And I drank the water. I got thirsty and I didn't want to go to the upper decks to fill up my bottle. So, moving on. So we left Seattle around 4 p.m. I caught this gorgeous sunset over the ocean. It was magical. The next day was a sailing day, so I don't really have any footage of that day other than this really grainy moon shot. Ooh, spooky moon. On day 3, we arrived at our first stop, Ketchikan. Ketchikan is a pretty small town with lots of colorful buildings. For our day here, we decided to go on a wildlife/wilderness tour to hopefully see some sea life, bears, and waterfalls. But first, breakfast. Here is my medley of items, including the scurvy protection section. We are on a ship after all. After breakfast, we disembarked and headed into town. Lucky for us, the tour that we booked only had myself and my family for that particular time slot, so it was essentially a private tour, and it was the cheapest excursion that we went on as well, so pretty good deal if you ask me. And our guide, Caitlin, was awesome. She took us to Rockaway Beach first, which was rocky, obviously, and covered in algae. We got to touch a moon jellyfish, and then Caitlin showed us this purple starfish, which I also held, and wow, this one kind of hurt. Like, it was super pokey, which I was not expecting. And then she flipped it over, and you can see how it's still holding on to the rocks, even out of the water. She also told us that if you peel the rocks off, it injures them. So if you ever come across a starfish and it has rocks on it, don't peel off the rocks. It injures them. And here's a shot of it in the water. You can see that the color is much more vibrant when it's actually in the water. Then she went further down the beach and found another starfish. This one had this really interesting red, almost flower-like design on it and was less pokey, more squishy. Here it is in the water as well. And then I saw this crow on a rock and it looked really majestic. That's all I have to say about that. After Rockaway, we headed to this bear meadow, I guess. Essentially, it's a big open field where people often see bears. Black and brown bears are the most common in Alaska, and the ones in this area are pretty accustomed to humans. Unfortunately for us, some dogs belonging to the salmon hatchery workers nearby scared the bears away, so we didn't get to see them, but the view's still pretty. Oh, and while waiting for the bears, I saw these stellar jays from afar. And in case you didn't know, jays and crows are actually in the same family, so these blue guys are crow cousins. Next, we headed off to see a waterfall. Here it is. It was literally on the side of the road. If you're someone who loves waterfalls, go to Alaska because I swear there is one every 100 feet. After our tour, we went back into town to the Ketchikan Fish House, which was recommended to me by a friend. Honestly, this was my favorite food of the entire trip. I love a chowder, I love a fish and chips, I love a succulent seafood meal. It was all so good, 10 out of 10. While we were waiting for our food, I saw this funny sign. Oh, and I saw this pigeon. Yeah. After lunch, we walked around town and shopped a bit before boarding the ship again. Oh, also, here are some pictures that my sister took when the skies kind of cleared up. Super beautiful, really cute town. We left Ketchikan in the early evening, and it was really interesting to see how narrow the channels are between land in Alaska. This is footage from our room as we're leaving, and you can see how close the canal the ship travels on is to like the Ketchikan airport. And calling it an airport is generous, I know. As we traveled up the channel, I saw salmon jumping, which is really hard to capture, and my camera zoom is kind of shit, but here, you can kind of see little fish jumping out of the water. Pretty cool. Now, please enjoy some B-roll of us leaving Ketchikan. And now we get to the shake-up. After leaving Ketchikan, we were supposed to take a scenic detour into the Endicott Arm, which would allow us to view glaciers and icebergs by boat. But unfortunately, there was a landslide, which pushed a bunch of debris into an already difficult to navigate area. So, on recommendation from the Coast Guard, our captain decided to cancel that portion of the cruise, which was sad, but fine. They gave us apology cupcakes and free champagne. It was all good. But this change meant that we would reach our next vista by morning instead of afternoon. Juneau. Juneau is the capital of Alaska and is definitely more urban than Ketchikan. Our excursion for this day included a visit to Mendenhall Glacier and a salmon bake. The weather was wet in Juneau, as you can see, but thankfully the clouds cleared enough for us to view the glacier. Fun fact, the guy who Mendenhall Glacier is named after actually never visited the glacier, which is kind of ridiculous if you ask me, because they changed it from its indigenous name to Mendenhall. Why? This glacier in particular recedes by 100 feet every year, so eventually it won't really be visible from this lookout anymore. Something that Alaska is certainly not lacking is just an abundance of natural beauty. I mean, every view looks like a Bob Ross painting, like it's really is that magnificent. I found these wildflowers at the glacier park and they were just so pretty, so I also had to film them. Anyway, after the glacier, we went to a salmon bake and got this food, which honestly was kind of mid. There was also this really dill-heavy chowder, 7 out of 10. After the salmon bake, we went back on the ship again and sailed overnight to our next destination, Skagway. Skagway, like Ketchikan, is a small town. In fact, only about 400 people reside here in the winter. It, like many Alaskan towns, was historically a gold rush town. Actually, fun fact about Skagway and other Alaskan towns, the reason the buildings are painted so many different colors is because when settlers, and I mean the white people, came here to look for gold, most of them were illiterate. So they couldn't read street signs or building names, so the townsfolk painted the buildings all different colors in order to give directions better, like, oh, the doctor's office is the blue house across from the red building, sort of thing. Our first stop was to a sled dog training center, I guess. Basically, there's this company that breeds, raises, and trains dogs for the Iditarod. As you can see, there are many doggies here, and they are very loud, so you can thank me for not including the audio in this. Now, you may be wondering why these dogs don't look like actual huskies, and that is because they are Alaskan huskies, which is just a fancy term for a mutt specifically bred for sledding. They are a mix of a bunch of different breeds, including Malamute, Huskies, and Labs. These dogs range in age and experience too. One of the dogs has completed 4 Iditarod races, and some of them are training for their first. We got to say hi to the adult dogs, and look at this one. Oh my gosh, she is, or he is, Gorgiana. Ugh, look at that face.
That's piss.
So here they are waiting to be harnessed into the sled, and then here they are doing a run with a musher. They run, and then they come to a checkpoint, which is what happens during the race as well, and then they start to run again. And It's kind of impressive how quickly they're able to stop, and they all basically stop like instantaneously. After that, we got to hold the puppies. Oh my gosh, so cute, so chill, so sleepy, so soft, so stinky. I love this experience. Here is some B-roll of the puppies. Enjoy. Oh, there was this gold panning thing at the dog place too. I guess that's cool. Moving on. We got back on the bus and made a stop at this lookout. Very nice. Then we continued to drive up to Fraser, Canada, where we boarded the White Pass Railway train. This train ride took us from Canada back into Alaska via the Alaskan mountains. Here is a picture of the train, and this is the interior view. Honestly, I cannot get over how picturesque everything is. Also, if you notice, the water here is this very brilliant turquoise jade color, and that is because it is mixed with glacial silt, which is basically just the runoff from the glacier. Okay, now enjoy uninterrupted train view time. When we arrived back in Skagway, we went to Klondike Doughboy to get fry bread. We got cinnamon and plain. I do want to give some context to fry bread and its significance. Fry bread is associated with a lot of Native American, First Nations, indigenous cuisine, but it is not traditional food, if you will. When many native tribes were forced out of their ancestral lands by the US government and relocated, the land that they moved to could not grow their traditional crop, so the government issued flour and lard to the tribes so that they wouldn't starve, and that is how the birth of fry bread came to be. I'm telling you this because while getting to eat this was a novel experience for a visitor like me, this dish has a very complicated history, and I don't know, I just didn't feel right, not acknowledging that. Anyway, back to business. Here's the harbor in Skagway. You can see more of that glacial runoff, and here are more shots of the town. We boarded the ship again around the mid-afternoon before departing around sunset. This is where we got some spectacular views of the mountains. We even passed some more glaciers as we were leaving. It's kind of hard to see, but there's the blue ice up there. Skagway was our last Alaskan destination on this cruise, and honestly, it was probably my favorite location. It's just so beautiful, and our excursions were awesome, and it was just a really good time. The next few days were sailing days. The cruise had a Caribbean food night. Here's my plate. It was fine. 7 out of 10. We also did a high tea on board because why not? Here is our little tower. I had an Earl Grey with cream and sugar. Thank you very much. The next 2 days, still on the boat with a very quick stop in Canada. Didn't film it because it's Canada. Who cares? Before we returned to Seattle. So, what are my thoughts on the whole experience? Here are the things that I liked. I liked Alaska in general. I think it's super beautiful. Would 100% go back again. In relation to the cruise ship, I liked having the ability to go to multiple destinations without having to switch accommodations. It was really nice to just be able to like unpack all of my stuff and put it into the dressers and the closet in our stateroom on the ship and like not have to worry about packing and repacking if we were switching hotels, if we were not going by ship. I also really enjoyed the views from the cruise ship. I didn't get good footage of it, but on the way back we saw a bunch of whales, we saw orcas, we saw dolphins. It was really, really amazing. And that was all from the cruise ship, literally from our room. The things I didn't like. I don't think I am built for cruise ship life. I didn't really care for the activities that they had on board. The food was mediocre. There was nothing that really like stuck out to me. The cruise ships also have a monopoly on the storefronts in the towns that we stopped at, which was really troubling because basically all of the money that you spend on the cruise ship and then also while you're on land is funneled back to the cruise ship companies. And specifically for me, I was really looking to support locals and the indigenous peoples like crafts and things like that, and there just wasn't really any of that in town, and we didn't really have enough time to like go out of town and explore other places either. So I didn't like that. And kind of as I said before, I didn't like the amount of time that we were there at port. Like it really wasn't that much time. I think the longest stop that we made was maybe 8 hours, which seems like a long time, but when you're doing excursions that are taking up like 3-4 hours at a time, it really isn't. All in all, it was a pretty good trip. I wouldn't necessarily do a cruise again, but I would definitely go back to Alaska and explore more of its just raw natural beauty. I hope you guys like this vlog. This is different, I know, from the other videos on my channel, but I don't know, just wanted to see if this is something that maybe other people would like, maybe I like, who knows. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I would like to grow this channel as much as possible. And if you don't feel inclined to do that, give me a like or leave me a comment. And if you don't feel inclined to do that either, well, thank you for the view. I appreciate it. I will talk to you all next time. Bye!